My name is Evelyn Wigham, and I have been a member of the Glencoe Club, I would say, for close to 35 years. Well, my forte was tennis, and at that time they didn't have indoor courts or anything, so we had to play just in the time of the year that the courts were available, and they were shale courts. They had, at one time, before they put the pool in, there were 8 courts. And then they decided that the club needed a pool, and so they cut it down to 4 outside. Yeah. So anyway, it was kind of fun. I came as a guest, and it was when they had the courts down below outside, the shell courts, and you could only come so many times a year, so Helen Roach often invited me to come, and I forget how much it was, $2 or something a person. But it was really something to come. And the courts were very well kept, and as I say, through tournaments, I had met the best players. I'd come down to play at the Glencoe Club and in the intercity competitions things, but it was when we moved from Edmonton. My husband was transferred with Pan American Petroleum to Calgary. And so way ahead, my husband, because at one time there were so many members that they could only handle so many members. So my husband wrote to Dave Follansby and the fellow that was the president, and they said, oh yes, there was, because I was the top player in in Edmonton anyway, and maybe in Alberta at that time. So anyway, we came, and of course I knew everybody so well, except a woman called, I shouldn't say except, Helen Roach had been a very good tennis player and was provincial champion at one time, and I knew her really well. And I knew a few of the other people. So when we came, it was just, I was able to, I knew everybody so well, quite a few of them, and then soon got to know the other ones. Yeah, it was, well, my husband Daryl, of course, was the president at one time, but he always said it was the best thing we ever did. Well, I had already gotten to know a lot of the people, and when we were transferred by the oil company down here, Daryl was a little afraid that there wouldn't be room, that it would be full, and so we talked to Helen Roach, who was an all-time, long-time member of the club, and she said, oh, it would be wonderful that they would love to have me come and us come and play, and so anyway, it was so wonderful to just come and know everybody. Well, of course, I know everybody so well that I think that, but I think that when people come and like good badminton players will be transferred here, and good tennis players and so on, and everybody is so amenable to them, and you're happy that they're there and arranging games, and no, it's a very very good atmosphere. Oh, well, we were living in Edmonton at the time, and but we heard about the fire, and I was just devastated, because I knew how great it was, and of course it was a red painted building, and you've seen pictures of it. But yes, it was devastating. I know I was so upset because I thought, oh, what'll those poor people do? Oh, well, Daryl and I used to talk about it, and he said, this is our life. And people used to say, you should have your beds down there. You should move the whole family and live there, because we all were so, the four of us were so active, and I enjoyed every minute that I was here. Ron and Patricia were excellent. They were fabulous swimmers, and also Patricia particularly was a wonderful badminton player. She would win the girls' title a lot, and Ron would do quite well. But no, they were excellent swimmers. Dave Follansbee lived across the street, and he was the first manager of the club. He was a tennis player and badminton player, and he came and was the coach in the old club. And he married this Jean Waring, and she lived across the street. And so then when they were married, they lived across the street. And she was amazing. She was still a junior, and she won the Canadian Junior, the Canadian Senior, and the big tournament in Britain that they have. I forget what it's called. So so it was nice that with Dave was the manager of the club, and she was across the street too. He was one of the, if not the top, one of the top badminton players in Canada, and yeah, so that was it brought in more members. At first, it was very, very staid and so on, but then it got they started buying nice tennis dresses and for the women, and really, yeah, the buyer started getting nice clothing in it, and it was wonderful. So that and it looked so nice, and it was nice having the white only rule. Oh, even Kevin, if somebody comes as a guest or something and they're wearing green shorts or something, and they say, well, I haven't got anything else, well, they try to find them something, because it looks so nice. Yeah, Helen Roach. Yeah, she was a fair bit older. No, I don't know how much older, but she was a tennis player here, and Neil, her husband, was quite a good player. But Helen was like provincial champion and so on. And so anyway, she would often invite me over to play. And then there'd be inter-club things, and so I'd play against her or with her over at the Calgary Club. She had been provincial champion in singles and doubles. And I was doing well, but you learn a lot from playing somebody who's better. She was quite a bit older and experienced, and you learned shots that you should use, and you know, it was a teaching. I curled. I loved the curling. I came from Edmonton, and I had started curling, and I was doing quite well. And I got on this rink with oh, I forget her name. I just thought of it and I forgot it, but anyway, they were full, and I mean, I hadn't curled that much, and so they said maybe when somebody quit that I could get on this this rink. So anyway, I was phoned, and I got on this rink with Frida. Her name was Frida Bryan. And and Marjorie Lee, whose husband had been the president of the oil company that my husband worked for as a geologist. He was the head geologist, but he was the president. And I knew Marjorie because she was a tennis player. Well, I tell you, after a couple of ends, and I had curled a bit, but this Frida Bryan, the club here, she told us off. She said, "You're the worst curlers, and you're this, and you're that, and the other." And she wasn't curling well at all. And so I said, "Okay, fine, I quit." And I did, and so did the other girl. So anyway, she phoned and apologized and this and that, and I just thought, oh, to hell with it. And so I got a wonderful, I know, there was a girl, a woman who was losing one of her players, and so she phoned and said, would I curl with her, and I had a wonderful time. Wendy Bryden and myself. And we dug up a lot of people found things in their homes, and I found, there was a cabinet, 2 cabinets down there that were full of old Glencoe Newses and old this and that and the other that had just been tossed there. Thank goodness we had them. So I spent hours and hours going through that, and you know, I did a few articles on things I saw, and there were letters, and yeah, it was interesting.